This is Hope and Help with Doctors Michelle and Mark Sherwood. Insights and interviews with a dose of straight talk to help you enjoy optimal health in all areas of life.
Hey everyone, so welcome to another edition of Hope and Health Podcast. So my guest today is a longtime friend, colleague, brilliant mind that really is one of the leaders in a lot of fields. He's an endocrinologist from Orlando, Dr. Edwin Lee. You're going to talk to us about peptides today. So talk to me. Good to see you.
Yes. Thank you, Mark, for inviting me on your podcast, and I'm really excited. We'll talk a little about BPC.
Yep.
I also have urgent matter, and that is we have to save peptides. The FDA is taking away one peptide, and that is Thymosin Alpha 1, and I have a feeling they're going to take away other peptides. Kind of see the writing on the wall. And I have a petition. You can just go on savepeptides.org, and if you see this page right here, you can say sign the petition, and it takes literally 10 seconds to fill it out. And if you basically sign the petition, I'll just click on now. There we go. You can see that on the right-hand side, you can put your first name, last name, your email address, and street address. And the importance is your street address because it will go to your representative where you live. Mm-hmm. If you live in Orlando, it'll go to the representative Val Demings, and it'll go to your two senators. And in Florida, it's Rubio and Senator Scott. So it'll go out to them. And you can see the number here, 361. It was taking off and kind of like slowed down. But if you read the supporters here, it's some of these things are really really important points. Here's one person from Utah. This is a personal freedom issue as much as it is a health one. And it's really our right to access medical care is the issue. And once they take away peptides, and maybe down the road, if they're going to take away hormones, alternative medicine or functional medicine or nutritional medicine is really going to be all taken away. So anyway,
what do you think is the best? I mean, like when people are hearing this, they got to be going, "What? Wait a minute! It was going so well, and it heals so many people." What's the motive behind it, in your opinion?
Well, this one is FDA was really upset because some compound pharmacy, talked about curing or treating the COVID with it, and it does not have FDA indications, but for treatment of COVID. But there are a lot of studies that have shown that in ICU and critically ill people taking Thymosin Alpha 1, basically they live longer or they have better outcomes and they have less mortality. So the data is out there. It's just not currently FDA approved for COVID, but a lot of people are using Thymosin Alpha 1 for their immune system. And you can see one person says, I used Thymus Alpha 1 when I had CRS, secondary to mold toxicity, that resulted in immunosuppression. It was very helpful. And anyway, it's really, it's upsetting because here's something that our government is pushing very strong for the vaccine. I'm not saying that I'm for anti-vaccine, but it's just basically for emergency use only. And but here is something that is the peptide Thymosin Alpha 1 is one of the safest peptides out there, and has been approved in multiple countries. I think 35, 36 countries worldwide, and there's a lot of clinical trials that shows it's safe. It's a natural peptide that comes from our thymus gland. And it's something that when we get older, our thymus gland basically shrivels up and our immune system goes. And if our immune system goes, you get sick or you get cancer. So it's really important to keep our immune system healthy.
So, we talk about these peptides, and those of you listening right now and to all of us know that we've used a lot of peptides and had great success. if you can, I mean, I want you to go right now to savepeptides.org. I'm going to mention that a couple of times. We're going to put it in the notes, of course, but go there right now. If you've had a positive experience, and many of you have, do that and let your voice be included and your voice be known. If we don't stand up for the things we believe in, the things we believe in will be quickly eroded and decayed away. That's the way it works sometimes, people. So I want you to really take seriously what Dr. Lee is saying to us tonight. We'll make that savepeptides.org link available for you as well. So talk to us a little bit about, I want to hit a little bit on maybe BPC 157. That's a real popular one, kind of what that does, how that works. And then if you want, kind of hit a little bit on how Thymosin Alpha 1 works. And you can hit those in either order, because I want people to see the value of what's at stake here.
Well, since we're talking about Thymosin Alpha 1, I'll talk about that. But I really urge that you sign the petition and share with 10 of your friends, or if that's just 10 of your coworkers or your family or friends, or if you put it on your social media, that'd be great. We're getting response from all different parts of the world, which is really interesting. I saw a response from the Philippines and one country from Africa, Ghana. So I mean, it's really interesting where people are responding, but social media really helps. So Thymus Alpha 1 is really a natural peptide that comes from our thymus gland, and it really controls our immune system. It's like the conductor of an orchestra, and it basically can tell it to basically wake up and, hey, let's fight an infection, or calm down if you have an autoimmune disease. So there's different types of the immune system, and it's much smarter than we can ever figure out. So Thymosin Alpha 1 can basically turn it on, turn it off much better than we can. It is really amazing. I've seen people with autoimmune thyroid disease, people with different types of let's say infections, or even with people with viruses. They use it. I've used it way before COVID. And my wife one day was not feeling well, and she was taking all of the supplements, and she goes, "Do you have something stronger? I just don't feel well. I have a sore throat. I feel like I'm coming down with something." I took the zinc, I took the D, I took the silver, I took quercetin, I took zinc. And she goes, "Do you have something stronger? I know you've been talking about peptide." And I go, "Yeah, I have it in the refrigerator." So I drew up some Thymosin Alpha 1 that night, and I injected about 50 units subcutaneously into her belly. And the next morning, I knew right away she was 100% better. I could see in her eyes that she basically made the corner. Because otherwise, before that, she would get this low 1 week crud. And if she's not feeling good, then I don't know how to take care of the kids. I can't. It's too complicated for me. So anyway, if my wife's sick, then everyone suffers in the house. So the most important thing for her is to be healthy. So I've used Thymosin Alpha 1 in all my family members. I've used it in into my parents, my kids, and I used it personally many times way before COVID, and it really helps because. What we do, Mark, we're in that it's a occupational hazard. We get exposed to a lot of coughs, and we may be coming down with something. And I use a little Thymus Alpha 1. It really helps me. So, Mark, I'm sure you've
I've used it too. I've seen some amazing things with it. I mean, honestly, you mentioned one of the key ones we've had much success, which is the autoimmune thyroid disease. We've seen good success with lupus, good success with rheumatoid, turning these things around. And obviously, we combine that with nutrition, as those of your listeners knowing, to pull out the the inflammatory type of foods. And it's worked wonderful. I mean, it's reset some things. I've seen antibodies drop significantly. So that stuff I've seen with my own eyes, man. I was like, there it is. It dropped. And I can only attribute it to and I kind of look at this peptide as one, that it makes the immune system more youthful. It seemed to be a good descriptor of that, making it more youthful, because we've looked at the young people. They seem to have this incredible amount of resilience. And I think that that's what we have here with this wonderful peptide, ability to to reobtain or perhaps reestablish that resilience. Would you kind of agree with that assessment?
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's really about having a youthful, healthy immune system. That is the key essential, especially in 2021, 2022 coming around the corner, is how healthy is your immune system. We're going to have more variants of this COVID virus, and this is just a tipping point. It's going to absolutely, I think, going to get worse in terms of people getting infected. But one of the essential thing is, besides the, essential is, take your zinc, take your D, take your quercetin. Quercetin and zinc work beautifully together. Those just essential things. You can add some other things like vitamin C and other things. But the thing is, have Thymosin Alpha 1 just in case you feel like you're coming down with something. And ivermectin is fantastic there too. So I think those those simple things to have at home is really one of the great things for our immune system. I actually went to Utah for summer vacation, did some hikes. I think I sent some pictures out to you.
You did.
And I went to we were in Moab, Utah, which is a beautiful place. And I went to like Page, Arizona, and Kanab, Utah. And I went to the pharmacy just to pick up something because it's a grocery store pharmacy right there. So I was just curious. So I asked each of those cities, those small little pharmacy, do you have ivermectin? I'm just curious if they had it. And they said, what's that? And it's like, oh, they didn't have it. They don't even know what it is. And it's like, wow. So if you're in a small city, you're at a disadvantage.
Well, it's funny you mentioned thymus and having it around. Just it seemed like common sense to me way back when that was something you wanted to have around as truly a just in case. Really for anything that was inducing your immune system to act in a sort of an inappropriate, upregulated way. And so that was our mindset from the beginning. One thing that we added to the protocol, we added a little bit of colostrum, good sources, because we sort of thought, let's just get the immune system really able to adapt to whatever's coming your way. And, it's done really well. And certainly, we're not saying that Thymosin Alpha 1 is a quote unquote cure. We're not saying that a bit. We're saying that it helps the immune system do what it's supposed to do better. And that's important. That's important. So my question for all of us listening is, why in the world would you want to take something away that helps your system do what it's supposed to do in a better way? That just makes sense. And and my understanding, Ed, that there's no real negative resulting studies in this right now, or do you know of any?
I have not seen anyone who've had any negative side effects. I've seen people with other peptides get a rash, or they basically they're allergic to this. But Thymosin Alpha 1, I've used in hundreds and hundreds of patients, and I've not seen any particular side effect. I'm sure there is one or out there that there may be allergic to water or something like that, and they're sensitive to something. But for my patients, I have not seen any of that. But there's always an exception. So
yeah, I've watched you talk about it. I've watched Dr. Luis Martinez talk about it, and just some amazing things that have occurred as a result of having this as a part of your arsenal or your toolbox. And that's significant because of what I just said, folks. We're talking about taking away tools that can help a system work better. And that makes no sense to me. And it frankly just aggravates the way out of me that somebody would even think like that. But of course, I think we're dealing with an irrational system at times, right? I think you would agree with that.
Definitely. It's just, I think it's really the FDA, huge overreach. And I know they are upset with alternative therapy that they talk about with COVID. I get that. And they're making boundaries. But I have a feeling that this is the beginning of many other things that's going to be taken away. So
we'll talk about another peptide that is not, so to speak, on the chopping block, quote unquote, yet. And we both use a lot of this. BPC 157. Talk about that.
This is another peptide that I love, and it stands for Body Protection Compound 157, and it has it's a natural peptide. Also comes from our stomach, but we just make very little quantities of it. And BPC 157 was really isolated from a doctor. It's hard to pronounce, but anyway, it's from Croatia. And because there's a P and a V, and I don't know how to put that together. But anyway, he's done a lot of wonderful studies in animals, and it has basically helped the body to heal. I call it the healing peptide, just to keep it simple. But I primarily use it for three major things. I'm sure there's other things I use it for, but if you take it by mouth, it really helps with reflux and with especially with GERD. And it tightens the lower esophageal sphincter. So this is natural to help in terms of preventing acid to come up. And I have many patients get off their acid reflux drugs by taking this. And it may take about 3 weeks to a month before they can reduce their prescription medicine for acid reflux. So
you're talking about taking that oral at about maybe 500 micrograms ish, something like that?
Yes, 500 micrograms, 1 pill a day. And I had one patient who has severe acid reflux with his voice changing, and he's been doing phone sales for like 20 plus years. And he came to see me. His chief complaint was, get my voice better.
Wow. And it did, I take it, right?
Yes. And the amazing thing is that later he was like months later, he was on the phone, and he's known this person for many, many years. The guy goes, Tom, your voice sounds great. Because it was always raspy, and he just could not, just enunciate words well. And the reflux was causing a lot of problems. So he's super happy. He did try an over-the-counter BPC 157, which I found. I said, hey, Tom, let's do something. Stop the BPC that I given to you from a compound pharmacy and try this over-the-counter. The first week he said, no problem. It was the second week. His reflux came. His voice started changing. He called me. I go, stop that one. Throw it away. Take the real stuff. So
it's funny you mentioned that, in a sense, there's a lot of those peptides out there. I call them copycats, but some of the people that have ordered those things, they get them in and it says clearly not for human consumption, not for animals, blah, 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 blah. So it's kind of a knockoff version. You really don't know what you're getting, do you?
Right. This one, I don't want to say his name, but he's a physician who's made it. And I did talk to him, and he goes, did you have him poke the holes in the capsule? It's like, why should you poke holes in the capsule? I mean, you're supposed to design it. And the hole in the capsule will make a difference. But he didn't have an explanation why his product didn't work. And anyway, so I just talked to Tom today. The voice sounds fantastic. So.
That's amazing, because GERD or acid reflux is a huge problem with people around the country. And also, BPC, you can inject it subcutaneous, intramuscular, et cetera, intra-articular as well. So it has so many purposes. Maybe you can tell us a story about that.
Well, that's great. I actually, today I injected one of my patients with ultrasound guidance. She had I injected into her shoulder 1 month ago, and she is clearly much better. She could not move her arm sideways. It was like at the most 30 degrees. She could not sit on the toilet and flush the toilet behind her, and she could not she could not touch her hand to her head. She fell from. She tripped on a carpet and landed right on her shoulder. And she basically had a labrum tear, supraspinatus tear, and subcapularis tear. So she didn't want surgery. She's 70 years old. So I injected peptide a month ago, and she came today for her second round of injection, because I figured she'd probably need a total of 3. And she is 70% better. She's happy. She can flush the toilet. She goes, that's a big thing. Instead of 30 degrees sideways, she's 60 degrees. So eventually, I suspect she can do all the way. And she's able now to touch her hand to her hair. So she sees improvement within a month. And so she's excited. And another little story is my mother. She lives in Pennsylvania. And she was complaining about her leg, and I didn't know what was going on. I go see your doctor in Pennsylvania, get an MRI, an X-ray, and she went to her doctor. And I don't know if it's some type of HMO or something like that, but she said the doctor cannot order an MRI. I was like, wow. So I said, go see an orthopedic surgeon who can order this. So anyway, it took forever to see the orthopedic surgeon, but she was given basically Advil, and she took it for a week, and she goes, it's no difference. So I go, you know what, Mom? I'm flying from Florida to Pennsylvania. I'm going to see you. I brought some peptide. I didn't know how bad it was. I couldn't figure out, was it a hip issue, knee issue, or a leg issue? So I was totally shocked when I saw the airport how bad it was. She could barely even turn around 180 degrees to walk, and her walking was like, oh my God, we have a problem. So anyway, we drove back home, and I noticed the grass that I used to live in that same house I grew up was, perfectly cut, and my mom's 80, still cutting the grass.
Wow.
I said, when did you cut the grass? It's Saturday. Thursday. So it's like, your leg is not going to heal. So I eventually examined her, and it was a knee. I was thinking probably a meniscus tear or ACL. And her knee was swollen, it was hot, it was just full, it was just was angry. And so I injected her into her knee, and injected 3 cc's of BPC 157, and then the rest I put in insulin syringes so she could just inject in her upper, near her kneecap, just basically on her thigh. And I taught her how to do that. And she is 90% better. My sister was there a week ago, videotaped her, and she's able to walk. I'm going to fly out again to do a second injection, because she says from sitting to standing, there's a little positional issue, but I think a little more peptide will help her there. She's also taken by mouth. And she's running out. So for people who have injuries, I usually do the BPC injection in the joint and say, if you want to heal faster, also take it by mouth there too, because that's going to help the healing process.
I hear you tell these stories, and of course I've seen them, and we've talked about it many times in conferences, and I've heard testimony after testimony. That's what we desire. We desire to heal people, and it's like, that's what we're seeing. And it just blows me away on why any organization, any person, any government entity or government body would want to take away the healing of people. I mean, that just seems like the most evil, barbaric, frankly, satanic kind of action. And I just kind of tell that like it is. So we have to act on this, don't we? We have to really get on this right now and share this around the world, don't we?
Oh, definitely. And I really appreciate being on this podcast, because everyone that's listening, please sign the petition, share it on social media, and it'll spread. That's really, it's really our right, our basic right to access medical care is going to be taken away. So it's critical. Yeah. The other organization that I remember giving a talk, Mark, at Dr. Mark Gordon's traumatic brain injury conference, and I gave a talk on basically regenerative peptides to help with traumatic brain injury, and BPC has been shown to help with new neuron growth. And anyway, I was talking about some orthopedic issues when I was using BPC, and this retired colonel from the military got up and he pointed his finger at me and said, "Damn you, you're going to ruin orthopedics." No, I'm not. I'm going to help you guys. They would come back to see you if you give them alternative therapy besides steroids and or surgery. That's all you can offer. So why don't you give something regenerative to help? And in the operating room, give a little of the regenerative peptide to help them heal faster. Because anyway, surgery may be correct, but they're still in pain afterwards.
We've talked about a couple things, and I thought of one more concept that I want to make sure people understand. We've talked about Thymosin Alpha 1 and its ability to sort of orchestrate, reboot, redo, make the immune system more youthful than what it has been. And then we talked about BPC, this all-around body protection compound that's the healing peptide. These are great. You go back and look at Thymosin Alpha 1, though, and I want to make sure that we got our hands around this one. This one's on the chopping block right now.
Yes.
The FDA has said, no, we don't want to use this. Do you suspect, and I know this is your opinion, but do you suspect that if the pharmacy that was not touting that so much as a quote-unquote cure would have not used that verbiage, do you think that perhaps we wouldn't be having this discussion there? Or do you think it was inevitable?
I think it's inevitable. It's just one of those things that anything you can see in the stem cells, exosomes, the FDA basically wants to clean that up. And they've always been taking away hormones, but then a lot of senator wives or spouses are on taking bioidentical hormones. So it gets very close to them. So at the last minute, basically, the senators will basically say back off to the FDA, and then we get another, like 7-8 years of basically able to practice. But then they soon forget, and it just seems like every so often we get this threat that they're going to take away our hormones. So let me share you something. I have a paper that got accepted for publication. It's the first human clinical trial on that's been published, and it's going to be coming out for the July/August issue. So I checked a couple of days ago. It's not out, so it's coming. So it's been accepted, and it's going to be in the alternative therapies in health and in medicine. And it's this paper that I wrote, and it's on BPC 157. I don't know if you can see it, but
I can't see it on the screen, but talk about it, because if you can send it to me, I'll make sure that I can post that in the show notes for sure.
Yeah, once it's published, I'll send that to you. But this is so it's the title is called Intra-Articular Injection of BPC for multiple types of knee pain. So I would have people coming in with issues with just knee pain, and some had MRIs, some didn't have MRIs, someone told they had osteoarthritis, but they just want to get better. So it'd be great if I had all ACL tears and just stick to one particular knee thing, or all osteoarthritis. But I had the garden variety. I'm sure you get that too, Mark. So out of 16 patients, the first 4 I used TB4 and BPC, and 3 out of 4 got great results. I was thinking, you know what? Let me change the protocol from the combo, because we won't know if BPC by itself will do well. So after the 4th patient, I had 12 patients just do BPC by itself, and 11 out of 12 had great success with less knee pain. Now, I didn't redo their MRI or anything like that. It's all subjective. How do you feel? How's your sleep? How's your walk? And so it's the patient's subjective. It was nothing, with MRIs or anything like that. So this is the first human clinical trial that shows that's going to be published on BPC, because the rest has all been animal studies. So we need more clinical data like this to be published. So
I think that's awesome. And for those of you who didn't know, he mentioned TB4. That's thymosin beta 4. That's a little bit different of a thymic action than the thymosin alpha. But think about in that one, regeneration or rebuilding or repair of muscles and fibers. That's kind of cool. One of my favorite combinations as well. So love that one. Let me ask you this. I want people to go again one more time, savepeptides.org. Go there right now and get your name on that. For those of you that are listening, many of you around the country have used peptides, all kinds. And this is not just about saving Thymosin Alpha 1. This is about saving the ability to heal. I think that's the proper framework for this, proper context. So Ed, I wonder if we can maybe get you back on in about 30 days and
Sure.
we maybe talk about another couple peptides. So I think there's a couple things here that we have to hit. We have to hit education and information, and that gives us a reason. And if we don't know what we're talking about, we don't know why we're talking about it, we don't have the information, we have no reason to stand up. So I want people to think, open your mind up, think independently. Don't take our word for it. You can ask the questions, and there's information out there that's going to back up every single thing that Dr. Lee said to us today, every single thing. So savepeptides.org. That's not an organization. That is a mission. That's a mission that we got to do. So we're the organization, we're people, and we're going to save peptides because I want to save the human people, the human experience. Frankly, this is the way I look at it. I want to keep people alive so I can tell them about God more. That's what I want. So,
Amen. So
I make no bones about that. Well, man, most of all, I appreciate you being my friend. I've reached out to you many, many times for questions, and you're instead of Johnny on the spot, you're Ed on the spot, and I appreciate it very much. But it's an honor to serve with you in this army, this war that we have, and we're going to win. SavePeptides.org, right?
One person at a time. So yep,
that's it.
Just, please sign up. Please sign the petitions and send it to your friends on social media. That'd be great. So all right,
there you go. SavePeptides.org. We're going to put it in the show notes and then share it with 10 people. And we'll look forward to seeing you next round with Dr. Ed Lee on the Hope and Health Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and you'll find out what's coming next, who's coming next, and what exciting things are down the road. And we can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now.
Doctors Mark and Michelle Sherwood and their clinic can help you find the hope and health you were created to enjoy. Go to Sherwood.tv for clear, proven ways you can be healthier. Subscribe at Sherwood.tv.